Hi friends, good evening. Let's close our eyes for a moment. Online friends, please type yes if you can hear me and see me clearly. Let's close our eyes, guys. So in the last lecture, we have covered communalism and caste and politics. So very quickly, brother, define communalism. Yes, the one in the hoodie. Intermixing of religion and politics. Wonderful, very pithy and correct definition. ठीक है. Explain communalism using some theoretical framework, some scholarly viewpoint. Please revise on a regular basis for your own sake. Bitya? No, not you. Yes. All right. Give me some scholarly explanation of communal riots. G. Paul Brass. That communal riots are not spontaneous outbursts of public anger. It happens after or with proper planning, coordination, etc. Bilkul, wonderful. Another, Bitya. Ashutosh Varshne, communal riots are predominantly an urban phenomena. And why? In which kind of cities does it take place? Or what prevents communal riots in a city? According to Varshne. Brother? Very good. Civil society organizations which have joint participation of both communities, Hindus and Muslims. ठीक है. Then, what is the relationship or outline the antagonism between caste and the democratic polity? Contrast them. Not revise. Brother, what is horizontal stretch of caste? Very good. Nearby castes, they come together to be able to wield power at a greater or a state level. And what do we mean here by nearby castes? Near in what sense? ज्योग्राफिकली, हाँ, मतलब कि इन द सेंस ऑफ रिचुअल प्योरिटी, रिचुअली दे शुड नॉट बी टू फार अपार्ट. ठीक है, गुड. देन व्हाट डज गुप्ता से ऑन द रोल ऑफ कास्ट इन पॉलिटिक्स? नो सिंगल कास्ट कैन इंश्योर विक्ट्री. मेजोरिटी नहीं, क्योंकि मेजोरिटी में होती ही नहीं है. हाँ, इट इज इवन द मोस्ट न्यूमरस कास्ट कैन नॉट इंश्योर इलेक्टोरल विक्ट्री ऑन इट्स ओन स्ट्रेंथ्स. ठीक है. सो बेसिकली ही सेज दैट वी आर ओवर प्लेइंग दिस कास्ट कार्ड, और यू नो दिस टॉक ऑफ कास्ट अफेक्टिंग इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स हैज बीन exaggerated. Great. And then we discussed the OBC mobilization in South India. So tell me about it. Began with the Justice Party movement. Then self-respect movement led by, I think you just said. हाँ, तो फिर why you withdrawing it? By E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar, hailed as Periyar. Bilkul. And tell me the nature of this movement. G. She was absent. Brother? Yes. 3 principles. Self-respect, rationalism, eradication of caste. चलिए अब चलते हैं जीवन में आगे. Let us now discuss OBC mobilization in North India. ये उस समय की बात है when it was the early decades of the 20th century. In the early decades of the 20th century, certain OBC castes like Yadavs and Kurmis in UP and Bihar during the early decades of the 20th century, some of the OBC castes like Yadavs and Kurmis in UP Bihar region, they started refusing to sell milk, curd, and gobar to the upper castes at concessional rates. ठीक है? So some clashes started taking place. Now please appreciate the context. Colonial rule था. Because of colonial policies, Jajmani was kind of dying away, and increasingly market mechanism was replacing it. And it was in this context that some of the OBC castes like Yadavs ya Kurmis, they started refusing to toe the line as dictated by the upper castes. ठीक है? Many of these castes, they also started Sanskritizing. ठीक? So ये इनके initial political mobilization है. Then after independence, 2 major developments contributed to the rise of the OBCs. Namely, बताओ, हम पढ़ चुके हैं, No, not Kalelkar, it was never implemented. How Kalelkar? Mandal happened but later. But yes, very importantly, land reforms and the Green Revolution. So they benefited some of the OBC castes. Land reforms and the Green Revolution. So they made some OBC castes landed and wealthy, as highlighted by, yes, as highlighted by Rudolph and Rudolph. Very good. In their book, क्या चुप्पी साध लेते हो? In their book, पढ़ चुके हैं. Very good. In Pursuit of Lakshmi. ठीक. Now this increased their political aspirations. This led to a rise in their political aspirations as they became economically stronger due to land reforms and Green Revolution. It also increased their political aspirations. So what did they do? हम पढ़ चुके हैं ये. We've already discussed this somewhere or the other. They started establishing regional parties. Their political aspirations could not be fulfilled within the Congress fold. So they started establishing regional parties which successfully challenged or displaced the Congress from government in the states, in many states. I repeat, regional political parties floated by the OBCs, or representing OBCs, successfully displaced Congress from government in many states. ठीक? And their political, this thing, culminated in what? You murmured something, say it out loud. In सब इसी देश की तो हो. हाँ, in the Janata Party government coming to power. So Indira Gandhi had imposed emergency from 1975 to 77. In 1977, she lifted the emergency and declared elections, general elections. In the elections which were held, the Congress under Indira Gandhi was wiped out electorally, and Janata Party came to power under the leadership of Jayaprakash Narayan as the political leader and prime ministership of first Morarji Desai and then Chaudhary Charan Singh. ठीक? So this Janata Party, it was not a single party, it was actually an amalgam of various regional, anti-Congress, many OBC-led parties. समझ गए? So for the first time, OBCs tasted power at the central level during the Janata Party regime. Congress was mostly considered as upper caste dominated. So they came to power in, I think, 78. Not 87, yeah. 77. 77, 78, and by 79, 80, they were out of power. So they were, it was unstable and it collapsed. But before they collapsed, they did a very major thing, which was establishing the Mandal Commission. In 1979, the Mandal Commission was established. Thanks. See, when they came to power at the center, their aspirations were satisfied, reduced, or increased? Yeah, none of the above. Increased. Basically, what happened? First, they tasted economic power. They became wealthy. Because of that, their political aspirations rose. Then they tasted political power. First at the states, then at the central level also. But then there is this feeling set in कि हमारे पास पैसा है, जमीनें हैं, एमएलए सरकार भी है हमारी, बट एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पावर नहीं है. हमारे लड़के और लड़कियां सिविल सर्विसेज में नहीं है. लड़कियां छोड़ो, हमारे लड़के सिविल सर्विसेज में नहीं है. लड़कियां कहां होती हैं? ठीक है, बट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली हमारे लड़के सिविल सर्विसेज में नहीं है. एंड इट इज इन दिस कॉन्टेक्स्ट दैट द मंडल कमीशन वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड. ठीक. Khair, by the time Mandal submitted its report, which was in 1980, the Janata Party had kind of gone out of power to be replaced by Indira Gandhi-led upper caste-dominated Congress party. So the Congress did not implement the Mandal report. The Mandal report was then implemented after another decade in 1990 by the VP Singh government. ठीक. Implementation of Mandal witnessed widespread protests, okay, against the decision. There were widespread protests and agitations. But then it also, made OBCs more assertive politically. So in 1990s, OBC politics gained a lot of strength. I repeat, 1990 Mandal was implemented, leading to anti-Mandal protests by, predictably, upper castes. But this consolidated the OBCs politically. Christoph who? Come on, don't tell me you don't know him. I'm sure you do. Christoph, सुन रखा है या नहीं नाम? जेफरलॉट. He calls the, political rise of the OBCs. He terms the political rise of the OBCs as India's silent revolution. India's silent revolution. Meaning what? I.e., it led to, matlab the OBC's rise led to a socio-political process which contributed to the social emancipation of the lower castes, the social emancipation of the lower castes, and their rise to political power. And their rise to political power at the expense of who? The upper castes. At the expense of the upper castes. Simply, friends, 1990s wala was the decade when strong OBC leaders in northern India, like Lalu Prasad Yadav, Nitish Kumar, Mulayam Singh Yadav, they became politically very prominent, very assertive. So it was the heydays of OBC politics. Are you with me? OBC presence in the political system greatly increased. For example, in 1984, please make note, 1984, only 11% MPs were OBCs. In 1984 में 11% MPs were OBCs. In 1990s, this number increased to more than 20%. And by 2004, it had increased to 25%. ठीक है? Same time period, upper caste MPs declined. Upper caste MPs declined from 47% in 1984 to about 40% during 1990s to around 1/3 of all MPs by 2004. So clearly, OBC politicians were gaining at the expense of upper caste politicians. What explains this? जनता का composition remains the same broadly over decades. ये तो है नहीं, पहले upper caste जनता ज्यादा थी, फिर बाद में OBC जनता बढ़ गई. What this indicates is that lower caste people, they stopped voting for upper caste candidates and started exhibiting a clear preference for OBC candidates. Lower caste electorate stopped voting for upper caste candidates and preferred voting for lower caste candidates. One of the online students is raising a question on my Hindu identity. He's saying you are not sporting a tilak today. I put the tilak today in the morning, but it got wiped out due to things. ठीक है. ठीक. Now Jaffar-Lott makes an interesting point. So point is that 1990s ka dashak, after the implementation of Mandal and the protests, it was very fruitful for OBC politics. But he also says that OBCs were the victims of their own success. Jaffar-Lott points out how the OBCs were victims of their own success. In other words, in some ways OBCs का नुकसान भी हुआ. Though they gained politically, they also lost out. Simply the OBCs were victims of their own success. Couple of things. पहली बात तो, the Supreme Court capped total reservations at 50%, 50. So the Mandal implementation was challenged in the Supreme Court in what came to be known as the Indira Sahni case. In the Indira Sahni judgment, I think it was 93, if I remember correctly, or sometime around that, 92, 93, the Supreme Court reiterated that total reservations cannot exceed 50%. ठीक? So already out of 50, 22.5% has already gone for SCs and STs. SCs के लिए 15% है reservation, STs के लिए 7.5% है. So 22.5 you subtract, so कितना बचा? 27.5. Based on that, OBCs were or have only 27% reservation. ठीक? Though according to Mandal estimates, 52% of the total population is OBC. ठीक है? बट रिजर्वेशन कितना मिला? केवल 27%. सो एक तो टोटल रिजर्वेशन पे कैप जो है वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने रीटरेट किया. दूसरी तरफ अनदर way in which OBC interest got compromised, that only few castes such as Yadavs and Kurmis, for instance, were able to benefit. So some castes benefited immensely, like Yadavs or Kurmis. But many other OBC castes were unable to. ठीक? Thirdly, can you please at the back call the staff from the outside? Thirdly, as Jaffar-Lott points out, that this silent revolution also resulted in a counter-revolution. A counter-revolution. The success of the OBC, or the political rise of the OBCs, what he terms as a silent revolution, also resulted in a counter-revolution. What was that counter-revolution? Tell me, as observers of Indian politics. Batao na. What did they do then? You're right. Okay, he's putting it rather crudely that the upper caste started hating the OBCs, which is all right. We can be crude. But then what was the counter-revolution? Or what was the upper caste response politically in the form of? Very important, another major political development of that time. The rise of Hindutva. The rise of Hindutva. That was the counter-revolution. हिंदुत्व आइडियोलॉजी गेनिंग ग्राउंड. इसको मीडिया में बोलते थे मंडल वर्सेस कमंडल. कमंडल होता है जिसमें वो साधु लोग पानी वगैरह रखते हैं, जो भी, ठीक है ना, रिप्रेजेंटिंग हिंदुत्व बेसिकली. In other words, OBC leaders or OBC politics was trying to do what? It was trying to mobilize people along the caste identity. In contrast, the Hindutva ideology was mobilizing people along the religious identity. तभी 1992 में जाके बाबरी मस्जिद का डेमोलिशन हुआ. And that gave a fillip to the political fortunes of हिंदुत्व आइडियोलॉजी, है ना. मतलब बीजेपी के का पॉलिटिकल राइज हुआ. एंड द सेकेंड हाफ ऑफ 1990s विटनेस द फर्स्ट बीजेपी प्राइम मिनिस्टर वाजपेयी. ठीक है. एंड दैट इज व्हाई इज हिंदुत्व डेट्रीमेंटल टू ओबीसी पॉलिटिक्स. साफ बात है, बिकॉज हिंदुत्व ट्राइज टू टेपर ओवर कास्ट डिफरेंसेस. OBC politics emphasizes on caste identity. Hindutva ideology says caste identity is not important. We all different castes should unite as Hindus. The enemy is not the Brahmin. Who is the enemy? The Muslims. For Hindutva. ठीक है? So एक तरफ OBC mobilization हो रहा था, दूसरी तरफ हिंदू मोबिलाइजेशन हो रहा था. ठीक. सो दैट इज द कहानी ऑफ द पॉलिटिकल राइज ऑफ द ओबीसीज इन नॉर्थ इंडिया. Now we will discuss, friends, something which is possibly the most divisive issue in India's social and political life. More divisive than communalism also. The issue of reservations. To be sure, friends, reservation can be of three types. One is reservation for SCs and STs, which has been in force since the coming into force of the constitution. ठीक है? It has been there, and that has not been too divisive or controversial. It has been largely accepted कि ये तो है ही है. SC, ST reservation. It has not, created a lot of heat or controversy. The second is reservation for OBCs, which was recommended by Mandal, implemented by VP Singh in 1990. OBC reservation. And third is EWS reservation, effected by my man Modi, right? Recently it has been. So EWS reservation, the full consequences are yet to unravel. Okay, its social and political effects are yet to be fully understood. Okay, SC/ST reservation has been accepted by and large by most sections of the society. It is, when we are discussing reservation, we are primarily discussing reservation for the OBCs. Reservation for the OBCs. And this has been very contentious an issue in Indian society and polity. People are vehemently for or against reservation for the OBCs. दोस्तियां टूट जाती हैं, दंगे हो जाते हैं, आग लग जाती है ऑन द इशू ऑफ reservations. Many people personally identify as victims of the reservation policy and vehemently oppose it. When the reservation policy was implemented, friends, 1990, there were widespread, strident, loud, aggressive public protests by upper caste youth in different parts of the country, including the capital city. A young boy, Rajiv Goswami, that was his name. He was a middle class, educated young boy. He set himself on fire in public, outside All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And that image of a burning, young boy, that was splashed across newspapers. That image captured the ire and frustration of the youth against the reservation policy. ठीक? How many of us are against reservation? And let me qualify or explain that question. When I say against reservation, I mean how many of us are against reservation for OBCs on the basis of caste? Caste based, how many of us are against caste based reservation for the OBCs? Please raise your hands. Fully. ठीक है. Quite a few. How many of us are in favor of caste-based reservation for the OBCs? Very few. How's that? Come on. Hi. No, I just saw a student whom I saw a lot of time back, so I was just waving to him. Raise your hands if we are in favor of caste-based reservation for OBCs. We are in a and most of us seem to be like fence-sitters or undecided. What of those who have not raised their hands either ways? Where do you stand on the question of OBC reservation? अब समय आ गया है, एक डिसीजन लेना पड़ेगा. बताइए. No, I really want to understand. Why have you not raised your hands? Are you unaware of the issue? Or undecided? What is it? Those who didn't raise their hands? Or you are somewhere, you have a via media position, कहीं बीच में लाई करते हैं आप. बताओ ना. चुप्पी क्यों साध लेते हो? मैं अकेला ही पढ़ाता रहूंगा तो कितना बोर हो जाऊंगा. बिटिया. हाँ 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 हाँ. What is yours? Okay. So partly you think that reservation, if at all, should be on the basis of economic disadvantage. Huh? Not caste basis. How many of us are of that line of thought? कि अगर reservation होना ही है तो आर्थिक कठिनाइयों के बेसिस पे होना चाहिए या बैकवर्डनेस के बेसिस पे, नॉट ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ वेरी वाइडली शेयर्ड सेंटिमेंट शी हैज आर्टिकुलेटेड. और हाँ, in that case you are supportive of OBC reservation. ठीक है. So yes, reservation has been a very divisive issue, and the policy of implementing caste-based reservation for the OBCs has been vehemently criticized on various grounds, left, right and center. Literally, political left, right and center, it has been vehemently criticized and opposed on various grounds as follows. आप बताओ, those who oppose reservation, and there were quite a few, why do you oppose it? मैं तो बताऊंगा ही dictate क्या मतलब this thing, but first I want your thoughts. Why you opposed? हाँ बेटे, सबसे बड़ा criticism which is hurled at these reservation walas is that it is against merit. We all have a friend or have ourselves been a victim कि general category students scored 95% and there was a reserved category student who scored only 75%. Yet the former did not get admission and the latter did. तो साफ बात है, you are for possibly political considerations giving preference to the less meritorious in comparison to those who are of proven greater capability. और इससे केवल उस कैंडिडेट का नहीं नुकसान हुआ जो नहीं चुना गया, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का भी नुकसान हुआ. और बताइए कि एक तो मेरिट प्रिंसिपल के खिलाफ है. बिटिया, it kills the potential of OBCs to perform well. Why do you say that? Oh, so since you have lowered the bar, the OBC student will never strive for a higher score. They will settle for a 70% because उनको पता है, तो उनका जो विजन है वही लिमिट हो जाता है, उनकी एस्पिरेशंस ही छोटी हो जाती हैं क्योंकि वो पूरी हो सकती हैं. और बताइए, so not just the general category candidates are harmed, even the OBC community is harmed. Very interesting, brother. So few castes, those also the better of ones, they corner all the benefits of reservation. Not just amongst the OBCs, even SCs, STs, ये देखने को मिलता है. That the relatively better of ones and not the really deserving ones are the ones who are cornering all the benefits. Yes or no? जैसे कि मीनाज, उनको नहीं है जरूरत, वो एक बड़ी ही वेल ऑफ इन मेनी वेज, फाइनेंशियली हो गया, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिवली हो गया, दे आर क्वाइट entrenched into the system and continue to benefit, perhaps unjustifiably, from the reservation policy. और बताइए. Yes, you had raised your hand. बताओ. That guy said what I wanted to say. और बताइए. Brother. So, never ending. So till how long can we handhold? It's like handholding certain entire communities, increasing their dependency instead of making them independent. Sorry? So it's one thing to extend a helping hand to some disadvantaged communities, but quite another to penalize another in the process. And reservation policy के basis पे OBC community के जो ये launches कह रहे हैं, राहुल गांधी के करियर से भी ज्यादा हो चुके हैं. हाँ ब्रदर. बिल्कुल. उन कास्ट में भी जो वेल ऑफ होते हैं, प्रिविलेज्ड फैमिलीज से होते हैं, वो लोग बेनिफिट उठा रहे हैं. theoretically there is a creamy layer policy which is blatantly violated. Yes or no? हम ऐसी ओबीसी कम्युनिटीज को जानते हैं जिनकी बहुत जमीनें हैं. They own vast tracts of land in Gurgaon, roam about in a Scorpio or a Bolero, and also avail reservation benefits. ये दुखता है. When Tina Dabi became, scored well, a lot of heartburn it generated. Her parents were government servants. She had all, a privileged upbringing, quality education. काहे कि वो बैकवर्ड या डिजर्विंग है ऑफ एनी स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट और लोअरिंग ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड्स. सो व्हेन पीपल फ्रॉम अ प्रिविलेज्ड बैकग्राउंड अवेल रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी, दैट रियली हर्ट्स. बहुत जलती है ना. हाँ, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू पर्सनली नो ऑफ पीपल amongst your friends, competitors, whoever, who are from privileged backgrounds and yet have benefited from reservation? Raise your hands. How many of us have been personally victims of reservation? Raise your hands. चोट बहुत गहरी है. और बताइए बिटिया. It retards the development of the country. A major accusation. So it's basically reservation is an outcome of politicization. Rather than focusing on overall growth and development, political leaders are distributing reservation as a kind of a, dangling this thing. हाँ बिटिया. हाँ. क्यों? I'll just, if I may play the devil's advocate, the reason why people argue that money should be the basis of reservation, because that is the real disadvantage. Sitting in this classroom, the difference between you guys is not so much in terms of your caste. You don't know or care about the caste of the guy sitting next to you. The real disprivilege in today's times is monetary. आपकी हैसियत आपकी जात से नहीं आज के दिन तय होती. आपकी सामाजिक पोजीशन या हैसियत तय होती है आपके मोबाइल फोन के ब्रांड से. कि अगर आपका एप्पल है तो आप उच्च वर्ग के हो, अगर आपका एंड्रॉइड है तो आप और थोड़े कम वर्ग के हो, और अगर आपका नोकिया है तो और कम वर्ग के हो. हाँ. सो व्हाट मैटर्स टुडे इज क्लास. If you have money, you can access the best of education, the best of opportunities, and that is why those who don't have money are the real needy, even if he is a Brahmin. Irrespective of whether he is a Brahmin or a Jat or a Dalit. गरीब को जरूरत है. That is the argument. What they are saying. हाँ, अब बोलिए. Okay.
Education is important there because अगर आपका each generation is educated well, then the money can be sustained.
Okay. ठीक है, but with due respect, the argument you are making is against economic basis of reservation, not so much in favor of caste-based reservation. Or perhaps your corollary is कि if not economic, then the only basis we are left with is caste. Huh? It's a better mechanism. Caste is a better way. कुछ और ही सोचना पड़ेगा, हैं? दोनों में स्यापा है. So let me take some online comments. Economic criteria should be used. Caste-based reservation is a ploy to destabilize the society. If reservation is done at private, high result giving English schools and free uncooked food is given to parents on attendance, rate of child is better approach. Something. It is against the fundamental right of equality. It seems there is not any fundamental right to equality, only in name. OBC reservation is about privileging the already privileged among the underprivileged. Wawa. This seems like abuse of power. Economic criteria should be used. हाँ नहीं, अभी हम गलिया रहे हैं बिटिया. Oh. So, when candidates from reserved categories enter premier institutions like the IITs, the IIMs, the reservation policy only helps them get through the entry door and not thereafter. Therefore, they are unable to cope with the pressure. So you find what? Consequently high dropout rate. High or many instances of suicide. हाँ और बताइए ब्रदर. Jats you are talking about? Yadav belt, Mainpuri, Itawa, Jat belt. Like Kurmis in Bihar, Eastern UP. ये काहे के backward? That's the question. They are multi-crorepati. It's crazy the amount of money they have. मोटे मोटे जूते, बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियां. Yes or no? Plus the benefit of reservation. और बताइए. बिटिया. कब तक? आखिर कब तक? हाँ, it has become never ending. So कुछ तो टाइम लिमिट हो. बिल्कुल. Brother, how many of you are of the view that there should be some time limit placed? Ki reservation till XYZ year and then no more. Quite a few. Huh? Please. Wonderful. The politics of reservation has taken over the sociology of reservation. So it's not really based on social backwardness. It's more based on political assertiveness of a community. अब जाट सुरदंगी हो गए हरियाणा में, vandalizing public property, demanding reservation. मराठा हुड़दंगी हो गए in Maharashtra. Patidars हो गए in Gujarat. All of them landed dominant castes. Yes or no? Then many governments have to bend to these demands. Any other? Then I will take over. Any other angst against this policy of caste-based reservation for the OBCs? तो लिखिए. सबसे बड़ा criticism of this reservation policy is that it compromises merit. It compromises merit. साफ बात है, दी लेस मेरिटोरियस आर चोजन, गिवन प्रेफरेंस ओवर दोज विद प्रोवन ग्रेटर कैपेबिलिटीज. वही 75-95. So it significantly compromises the merit. And this also results in, this greatly demotivates hardworking, sincere students or job aspirants. अगर मैं खूब मेहनत करके 95% लाया और तब भी 75% को दे दी, तो मेरे मनोबल का क्या होगा? टूट जाएगा. Yes or no? So it is clearly a fight between the reserved and the deserved. ठीक है, ऐसे लिखते नहीं है, रिटोरिक में रहता है ये सब. हाँ, you know this, the argument which is given by those who defend reservation, or those who, the reservation walas, is historical wrongs. That for thousands of years these communities have been discriminated against. But then again, please appreciate, what the reservation policy does is try to correct a historical wrong by committing another wrong today. Present day upper castes are penalized by this policy for the sins of their ancestors. Simply it is reverse discrimination. The lower castes were discriminated against in the past. The upper castes are being discriminated against by this state policy in the present times. Yes or no? तो two wrongs don't make a right. एक historical wrong को set right करने के लिए आप current present generation को क्यों सजा दे रहे हो? Another criticism, friends, reservation has kept caste consciousness alive. It has kept caste consciousness alive. Simply, in urban areas, many people are not aware or very, they don't take great cognizance of their caste. How many of you, tell me, first became aware of the importance of caste while filling one of those forms? When you had to identify, मैं कहाँ belong करता हूँ, general में, OBC में, या किस category में? Please raise your hands. So many. So that was our first brush, as it were, with caste. Otherwise, had it not been for reservation policy, perhaps with modernization, caste would have diminished. Caste consciousness would have, or it has declined otherwise. But then it is reinstated in our minds thanks to the reservation policy. Yes or no? Caste caste-based reservation policy is against the constitutional promise of equality. इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ का प्रिंसिपल एक एंश्राइंड है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, गारंटीड एज अ फंडामेंटल राइट, और एक्सप्रेसली लिखा है इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ कास्ट। फिर रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी क्या कर रही है? सर्टेन कम्युनिटीज को फेवर कर रही है एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ अदर्स। thereby, militating against the constitutional promise of equality. IP Desai, he says that with the reservation policy, the state is legitimizing caste. The state is legitimizing caste. Full stop. The constitution promises equality. And envisions a caste-free society. But can we achieve these constitutional ideals of equality, caste-free society till there is a caste-based reservation policy? The answer is clearly no. Till the time there is a caste-based reservation policy, these constitutional ideals cannot be achieved. Ha. Simply, we cannot have, achieve that dream of the founding fathers, that of a progressive, modern, caste-free Indian society, till there is caste-based reservation. देश आगे कैसे बढ़ेगा? If we keep on policy-wise, infusing life in this regressive social institution. Caste-based reservation hurts administrative efficiency. Hurts administrative efficiency. नहीं, आईपी दिसाई हो गया तुम्हारा, आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. Hurts administrative efficiency. साफ बात है, जो personnel being recruited for administration, the quality of personnel is compromised. The competence levels are compromised. Instead of a more meritorious one, you are picking up a less capable person. And in the long run, this will adversely affect the nation's development, because administration plays a very vital role in development. Yes or no? Next. It's like a Pandora's box. The demands for reservation are ever increasing. You concede one and a newer set of demands crop up. Where do you draw the line? For example, I'll tell you. Now, a lot of proponents of reservation, they point out that in legislature you have reservation for SCs and STs, not OBCs. But you have it in legislature, but you do not have it in judiciary. So should we now also have in judiciary? You have in the popular house, but not in the upper house. लोकसभा में है, राज्यसभा और विधान परिषद में भी होनी चाहिए. क्या उसमें भी कर दें? क्या जुडिशरी में कर दें? सुप्रीम कोर्ट में होनी चाहिए क्या? There is a strident demand for reservations in the private sector. कि पब्लिक एम्प्लॉयमेंट में है बट प्राइवेट सेक्टर एम्प्लॉयमेंट में नहीं है. होनी चाहिए क्या प्राइवेट सेक्टर में? If you do, giving into these, strident demands, क्या होगा? It will adversely affect our competitiveness globally. The various ills, corruption, lethargy that we see in the public sector will also plague the private sector. We are trying to attract foreign capital. It will drive away foreign investors. Because capital investment is driven solely by what criteria? Profit maximization. Are you with me? तो देश के लिए घातक साबित होगा एक ग्लोबलाइज्ड इकोनॉमी के एरा में, अगर कल को प्राइवेट सेक्टर में भी ले आए. Are you with me? So where do you really draw the line? For example, should there be reservation in sports? India 11 में प्रोपोर्शनेटली होने चाहिए. 15% SC, 7.5% ST, 27 या 52% OBC. Should we have? Where do you really draw the line? What about in artistic endeavors? बॉलीवुड में होनी चाहिए रिजर्वेशन. मैं तो कहता हूं these khans are dominating Bollywood. There are hardly any baniyas there. There should be reservation for baniyas amongst actors and actresses. Yes or no? I know it sounds bizarre, but that's precisely the point. Are you with me? Where do you draw the line? कहां रोके हैं? आर्मी में होनी चाहिए, नहीं होनी चाहिए? रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट्स में, मेडिकल उसमें होनी चाहिए, नहीं होनी चाहिए? है, बट विल यू बी कंफर्टेबल इफ God forbid your child is to be operated upon for an open heart surgery, that a doctor who is coming through the door of reservation that he operates conducts this very risky and life threatening. So क्या उसमें होनी चाहिए एक सर्जन रिजर्वेशन के थ्रू? Point is, friends, that certain areas, they are very, should I say, sensitive or important. And if you say कि इसमें तो नहीं होनी चाहिए surgeons वगैरह में, then is, या medical field में, but is administration of the countries, this thing, any less important task कि वहां पे हम reservation घुसा रखी है? So much depends on the public administration. Are you with me? Reservation dilutes the brand quality. Please appreciate, we have some very premier educational institutions like the IITs, the IIMs. They have created for themselves a reputation globally, known for their quality. But if the quality is compromised, It will dilute, what the brand stands for. Yes or no? Bluntly, IITs, IIMs का नाम खराब होगा. Reservation, friends, was meant to be a temporary measure. But it has become practically permanent. And this hurts the OBC castes. Please appreciate why it hurts the OBC castes. Because they are then unable to stand on their feet. This reservation has become like permanent crutches. मान लो किसी के टांग में चोट लगी है, आपने कहा, डॉक्टर ने कहा 2 महीना बैसाखी लेके चलना, एंड तुम उस पर इतना निर्भर हो गए कि जीवन भर तुम फिर बैसाखी के बिना चल नहीं पा रहे हो. What was meant to be a temporary succor or, supportive measure has turned into a permanent dependence, preventing the OBC communities from being able to stand on their feet. तो ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ अपर कास्ट वालों का नुकसान है, ओबीसीज का खुद का नुकसान है. Creamy layer criteria is flagrantly violated. है creamy layer policy, no doubt, कि जो rich या privileged families amongst the OBCs हैं, वो ना benefit कर पाए. धड़ल्ले से खुल्लम खुल्ला violate होती है. You understand creamy layer, guys? Supreme Court in Indra Sahni case judgment had given this this creamy layer concept in OBC reservation, which meant that those who are privileged, those who belong to an OBC caste but are privileged economically, for that certain criteria were laid down, like whose family income is beyond a certain threshold. I think today that is 8 lakhs per annum. It is. So those who have family income of 8 lakhs per annum today, or whose parents are class 1 government officers, etc., then they are considered creamy layer and therefore skimmed off. दूध में जो ऊपर मलाई आ जाती है उसको हटा देते हैं, ये तो बहुत बढ़िया है. इसी तरह skimmed off मतलब they cannot avail OBC reservation. So there is a policy there, but it is frequently violated. ठीक है? And the reservation benefits, then who ends up cornering? The privileged families from the OBC castes. अमीर OBCs ले रहे हैं reservation का benefit. ठीक? And it's not reaching the really needy ones. Can a reservation be, like, say if a caste is declared OBC, can it then be taken out of the OBC list? The answer to that is theoretically yes. Practically that never happens. Saaf baat. क्यों? Because it will politically cost any political party which takes out a community from the list of the OBCs. So point is friends, ये OBC status जो है, it is highly politicized. Highly politicized. It is not based on any objective criteria, but it's an outcome of political assertion. So different political parties compete with each other to woo communities. ठीक है, कि जाटों को या गुर्जरों को हम ऑफर करते हैं तो वो हमें एन ब्लॉक, तो पॉलिटिकल डेटा खुल्लम खुल्ला कम्युनिटीज को प्रॉमिस करते हैं, वोट फॉर अस, वी विल ग्रांट यू ओबीसी स्टेटस और दिस और दैट स्टेटस. आर यू विद मी? And once given, the status can never be practically taken back. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक बार टिप्पणी की that इंडिया में एक बड़ी ही विडंबना है. In various other societies, different communities compete with each other for being better than the other. That हम तुमसे बेहतर हैं. इंडिया में there is a race for backwardness. Different communities compete with each other claiming that we are more backward. And with passage of time, one would expect what? That backwardness in general, as the nation progresses, backwardness should reduce. But the list of backward communities is only expanding with passage of time rather than shrinking. All of this indicates heavy politicization of the OBC tag or status, and lack of a very objective scientific criteria. Another major criticism, friends, that, amongst the OBCs, only few castes corner the benefits. And that too, which ones? The better off. The better off OBC castes corner the reservation benefits. All OBCs are not alike. Wide variations in their socio-economic status. तो जो डोमिनेंट कास्ट हैं, लैंडेड कास्ट हैं, कम्युनिटीज हैं, वो रिजर्वेशन का भी फायदा उठा रही हैं. एंड द रियली नीडी, दे आर लेफ्ट हाई एंड ड्राई. Another criticism, friends, was that Mandal erred seriously, and the policy implemented on the basis of Mandal recommendations also erred when it equated caste with class. Mandal recommendations या report wrongly equates caste with class. OBC here stands for other backward classes, not castes. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो भाषा है जिसके तहत मंडल को गठित किया गया था, the constitutional provisions under which the Mandal Commission was established mentions backward class. But Mandal wrongly prepared a list of castes. Please appreciate. And as sociology students, I expect you to appreciate that caste is not class. The two are clearly different. Caste is a social category, social grouping based on ritual purity or ritual rank. Class, on the other hand, is an economic grouping based on wealth या मनी. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में साफ लिखा है बैकवर्ड क्लास. तो हम क्यों कास्ट, बैकवर्ड कास्ट को आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं और बेनिफिट्स दे रहे हैं? एंड ऐसा क्लियरली ऐसा नहीं था दैट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन मेकर्स वर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कास्ट. In fact, the term caste has been used in several other places in the constitution. So had they intended, the constitution makers, the founding fathers would have mentioned backward castes. Yes or no? The very fact the constitution makers use the word class here and use the word caste elsewhere. For example, when they talk about benefits to scheduled caste, they say caste. When they talk about equality across caste, they say caste. So clearly the constitution makers, headed by no less Ambedkar, were very well acquainted with the concept of caste. But here they wanted, or this provision was meant for backward class. ये मंडल ने बहुत बड़ा पाप किया है. Another criticism is that, we don't have any updated scientific data about the caste composition of Indian society. हमने ओबीसीज को रिजर्वेशन तो दे दी, पर हमें पता नहीं कितने ओबीसीज हैं. अकॉर्डिंग टू मंडल, OBCs are 52% of India's population. But according to Kalelkar Commission was the first backward class commission established under the same constitutional provision under which Mandal was established. Kalelkar Commission was established under Nehru, during Nehru's times. And Kalelkar estimated 42% of India's population as backward class. Mandal estimated 52%. NSSO, ये जो सर्वे करते हैं सरकार के लिए, इनके हिसाब से 36%. Wide variations in our estimates of the OBC population. और इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉलिसी अफेक्टिंग पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, हायर एजुकेशन हमने बना दी विदाउट एनी करेक्ट एस्टिमेट ऑफ द क्वांटम ऑफ द टारगेट पॉपुलेशन. मंडल की जो वो थी, क्या थी, मेथडोलॉजी, वो बहुत फ्लॉड थी. फ्रॉड नहीं कह रहा, इट विल बी टू स्ट्रॉन्ग अ वर्ड, बट ऑलमोस्ट, बट फ्लॉड थी. It was very arbitrary, it was unscientific, and was based on outdated data. मंडल ने क्या किया फ्रेंड्स, 1979 में बैठे 80 में रिपोर्ट प्रोड्यूस की, ठीक है, और उसी के ऊपर सारा हमारा ओबीसी रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी बेस्ड है. इट वॉज यूजिंग द डेटा फ्रॉम द 1931 सेंसस, 50 साल पुराना, टू एस्टिमेट कि कितनी कौन सी कास्ट कितने हैं, ब्राह्मण्स कितने हैं, जाट कितने हैं, यादव कितने हैं, बनिए कितने हैं, XYZ कितने हैं. इट पिक्ड अप डेटा फ्रॉम दी 1931 सेंसस. इमेजिन 50 साल पुराना, 1980 में रिपोर्ट दी है. इंप्लीमेंटेड अनदर डेकेड लेटर 1990, यानी 60 साल पुराना, और आज तक वही हमारा एस्टिमेट दैट वी हैव. 90 साल हो गए. देन टू आइडेंटिफाई बैकवर्डनेस, अब किस कौन सी कास्ट इनमें से बैकवर्ड है, उसने सर्वे कंडक्ट किया मंडल ने. फॉर दिस सर्वे टू एस्टिमेट बैकवर्डनेस, मंडल covered two villages and one urban block in every district. ये मंडल की मेथोडोलॉजी थी. कितनी डिस्ट्रिक्ट हैं आपके देश में? हाँ, 600-700 के करीब हैं, 650-700 है ना. 2 विलेजेस यानी पर डिस्ट्रिक्ट 1400 विलेजेस मान लो मोटा मोटी. गांव कितने देश में? 6 लाख से ऊपर. सो द टोटल पॉपुलेशन कवर्ड बाय द मंडल सर्वे टू एस्टिमेट बैकवर्डनेस वाज लेस देन 1% ऑफ इंडियाज पॉपुलेशन. ठीक है. In fact, one very reputed, nationally reputed anthropologist, B.K. Roy Burman, who was a member of Mandal, reputed anthropologist, member of Mandal, he publicly stated that the Mandal report is without any scientific basis. B.K. Roy Burman. Mandal report is without any scientific basis. घर का भेदी मतलब इनसाइडर. ओके. Another criticism is that reservation, if at all, should be on the basis of economic criteria. Very popular demand. Very popular. In the class also we saw. Reservation or any affirmative action policy, it's called affirmative action, another word for the reservation policy, should be based on economic criteria like income या occupation. साफ बात है that in today's times it is economic disadvantage which is a real, disability, if I were to call it that. पैसा ना होना सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत है आज के समय में. So irrespective of caste, people who are economically disadvantaged should be offered any, preferential treatment, support or whatever. This demand has been, made by scholars like I.P. Desai. Political parties like the CPI, the CPIM. ठीक है. Have we mentioned that benefits of reservation have been cornered by few castes and also by which are typically more privileged? Also by, also another major thing, friends, please appreciate. How many, I'm trying to bring forth, how much do OBCs benefit from reservation? How many, for example, in civil services? Okay, civil services exam, how many seats are there in a year? At most 1,000. ठीक है? सारे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स जो निकलते हैं साल में कितने होते होंगे? रफ वाइल्ड गेस 5,000, 10,000. ठीक है? लेट्स टेक अ वेरी वेरी लिबरल काइंड ऑफ दिस थिंग. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स भी ऐड कर लो, कितने होंगे? स्टेट गवर्नमेंट में वैकेंसीज जो है 20, 30, 40 ले लो, PSUs वगैरह सब ऐड कर लो. ठीक है? ऑल गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स, एजेंसीज वगैरह, कितनी जॉब्स निकलती हैं साल में? 50,000, 70,000, 80,000 कुछ ले लो. OBC reservation is how much? 27%, roughly 1/4. यानी 20,000. अगर हमने 80,000 भी लिया, लाख भी लिया, 25,000 jobs are being created or positions are being filled by OBCs. What is the size of the OBC community? As per Mandal estimates, 52%, roughly half the population, which is 65 crore people. So to solve the problem of backwardness of a 65 crore people, you are offering jobs to 20, 25,000 persons. Are you with me? In other words, friends, even if you've diagnosed the problem correctly, that OBCs are backward, the reservation is simply not the right solution. It cannot address the backwardness of a 65 crore plus community by giving them jobs of, say, 20, 25, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 jobs. Are you with me? So आपने बीमारी तो सही डायग्नोज कर ली, पर इलाज सही नहीं किया एज पब्लिक पॉलिसी डॉक्टर. ठीक? Simply, reservation policy is incapable of addressing the backwardness of the OBCs. ठीक? दीपांकर Gupta ji. What he says, friends, basically reservation is what? The Indian state has failed to perform its welfare duties. So it dangles this as a carrot. सरकार का कर्तव्य है as a welfare state to ensure access to education to all, to create adequate job opportunities for all. Yes or no? Which it has grossly failed in. So to kind of hide its failure, to cover up for its failure in performing its welfare functions, the political leadership or the Indian state basically, dangles this reservation carrot before communities. ठीक? तो ये है our criticism of the policy of reservation. And with that, you've earned yourselves a break. हेलो हेलो. Please settle down. दरवाजा डाल दीजिए. Let's quickly settle down, friends, and move ahead. Those of us who are supportive of caste-based reservation for the OBCs. Now it is हमारी बारी. Or as our leader Rahul Gandhi ji has said, जिसकी जितनी संख्या भारी उतनी उसकी हिस्सेदारी. है ना? Let us now try to appreciate, friends, what is the rationale behind a caste-based reservation policy for the OBCs. बताइए, कोई तो थे हम में who support OBC reservation? आप उठ गए बेटा? You were almost half asleep in the previous half. Huh? She was dozing off. खैर, बताइए, who amongst us support OBC reservation? कोई नहीं बोलेगा? क्यों? Did you raise your hand? हाँ, बताइए. No reason. ऐसे कैसे चलेगा? You have to. How do you mentally justify it to yourself? You are quite articulate. हिंदी में बोलो, इंग्लिश में बोलो. बताओ क्यों आप सपोर्ट करते हो ओबीसी की रिजर्वेशन को. धन्यवाद भैया. Guys, no talking. How one has made money also is important. Huh? Can you explain that before you move to the second thing? क्या मतलब हुआ इसका? क्या कहना चाह रहे हो? Give me an example कि अगर ब्राह्मण ने ये किया, ओबीसी ने. टीना डाबी, या? हाँ, how is Tina Dabi deserving of any sort of preferential? प्रॉब्लम ये है कि उसकी वजह से कि दैट शी इज नॉट डिसप्रिविलेज्ड इन एनी वे. ठीक है, क्योंकि वो एक प्रिविलेज्ड फैमिली बैकग्राउंड से आ रही है, अच्छे कॉलेज में पढ़ी है, अमीर है. हाँ, एंड दूसरी तरफ उसकी वजह से किसी और का हक कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो रहा है, जनरल कैटेगरी कैंडिडेट का. Just to clarify, she is right. Tina Dabi in that year scored, she was amongst the top, first or second or something. हाँ, बट प्रीलिम्स में उन्होंने बेनिफिट लिया था, मेंस में शी वाज एज गुड, बट प्रीलिम्स में तो लिया था. व्हाट जस्टिफाइज दैट लोअरिंग ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड्स फॉर अ पर्सन ऑफ दैट प्रिविलेज? ओके, ठीक है. एंड व्हाट इज योर सेकंड आर्ग्यूमेंट? caste-based discrimination is still prevalent, and we've discussed it sufficiently, at sufficient length. You know, how in various aspects of our social lives, caste-based discrimination still prevails. The intent was right. The intent was right. So the reservation policy is well-meaning, perhaps you're suggesting, but poorly implemented. Brother. Okay, I said what you were going to say.
So we have 2% of government jobs.
2% of government jobs.
But the seats are not fully filled. There are seats are vacant. Seats are remaining vacant.
So, what is the argument?
So the reservation norms are not implemented.
Okay, you are saying that reservation policy is being implemented half-heartedly by mostly an upper caste dominated system. The system is still upper caste dominated. In IITs also as a glaring example, absolutely. In Group A and Group B services, absolutely. Yes. Brother. Okay, that's a contentious but important argument that economic backwardness is directly related to caste. SCs and STs have higher incidence of poverty than general category. Bilkul. Yes. Caste identity is permanent. Economic condition changes. बिल्कुल. मैं कौन हूं? बनिया. आज हो सकता है मैं अमीर हूं पर कल को गरीब हो जाऊं. एक जनरेशन बाद मध्यम वर्गीय हो जाऊं. Yes or no? Economic fortunes may vary. But next 10 generations से हम क्या हैं और क्या रहेंगे? बनिए. बिल्कुल. हाँ. Reservation is motivating. Just like it is demotivating for the upper caste, it is motivating for the lower caste or the OBCs. Yes, otherwise many SC, ST, OBC candidates may have the mindset that general category persons are far better, far more capable, so we don't stand a chance. बचपन से एडवांटेज मिला होगा उसकी वजह से 90% आया. You cannot imagine the kind of effort which would have gone by the SC, ST, OBC candidate or a reservation category student to even score 75%. Very nice. और बोलिए, brother. Wonderful. It ensures diversity in our educational spaces, in our administration. जहां नहीं है, so you are suggesting perhaps there is a legitimate case for reservation. Where all? In judiciary? Higher, वो जो क्या होता है, upper house? राज्यसभा में भी होनी चाहिए. प्राइवेट सेक्टर में भी होनी चाहिए. स्पोर्ट्स बॉडीज में, आर्ट्स में. ठीक है. और बताइए ब्रदर. वेरी गुड. यस, एब्सोल्युटली. दैट्स फाइनेंस कैपिटल. बिल्कुल. बिटिया. It promotes a culture of merit amongst the OBCs. Huh? That whole argument is quite condescending, very frankly, but theek hai. Brother, are you raising your hand or just angadai? Angadai? Theek hai. Chaliye, so let us note down, friends, and I'll try to address each of those or most of those criticisms that have been leveled against the reservation policy. Okay? Beginning with this question of merit, which is the biggest attack on the reservation policy, that it is against merit. What is merit, friends? We need to appreciate. Merit as commonly understood, I would define it very roughly. I'm not giving you any scientific or scholarly things. Simply, merit means what? It is the capability, the competence, simple English भाषा में मैं बोल रहा हूं, yes or no, of a person, as reflected in how do we gauge or calculate or measure merit? Competitive exams like this one, civil service exam. ठीक है? Some such mechanism, so some sort of a exam type system which calculates or measures people's relative merit or relative competence. That is what is merit. Huh? Your performance in such competitive exams. Now, please appreciate, friends, what we call merit, yani my performance in any exam, is not only a factor of one's intelligence, one's innate intelligence, and one's effort, individual effort. It is also greatly affected by social and cultural, social and environmental factors. I'll first dictate and then I'll explain that merit is a function of not just the individual's intelligence, innate intelligence and effort, but is also greatly affected by social and environmental factors. Simply, friends, मेरे 90 नंबर आए, आपके 75 नंबर आए. I score 90, you score 75. Okay? But I just want you to appreciate how the circumstances affect one's scoring potential. Say, I have scored 90 when I come from a rich family. I'm right now talking purely in economic terms. Okay, then I'll extend it to caste. But say I come from a rich family, I can afford fancy private tuitions like this. I've studied my whole life, I've done nothing but study. I have studied in an air-conditioned environment with a full tummy. And I have scored 90%. And then there is this boy who scored 75%. Clearly lesser than me in the same exam. But he comes from a rural background. Unlike my urban background. He has studied in a sarkari school. Forget private tuitions, costly private tuitions. The school he used to go to, the teachers were frequently absent. आते नहीं थे, आते थे तो मटर छीलते थे, पढ़ाते नहीं थे. Are you with me? He often goes with his father to the fields. Are you with me? इनके घर में एसी तो क्या कूलर भी नहीं है. So despite all these hardships and limitations that his condition has imposed on him, he is able to score 75, and with all my privileges, I've scored 90%. Who is more capable? Possibly him? Yes or no? वो अपने हालात के बावजूद इतना कर पाया, और मैं सारी सुविधाएं होने के बाद भी इतना ही कर पाया. Are you with me? Point is, friends, why I'm giving you economic reasons, because that is something you can more relate to. But point is, our social background, our circumstances greatly affect our educational attainment or our performance in exams. Are you with me? Extend the same. Now identify the caste dimension. Please appreciate, friends, that people belonging to the lower castes, it's not just about money. They also lack social and cultural capital. The OBCs frequently lack social and cultural capital. It's not just money or finance capital. In simple terms, friends, a Garib Brahmin and a Garib OBC are not on the same level. The Garib OBC, the Garib Brahmin doesn't have money, but the Garib OBC doesn't have money, plus he also lacks social and cultural capital. For example, Garib Brahmin parivar mein bhi there often is a great emphasis on knowledge acquisition. There's a tradition of education and acquiring knowledge. Are you with me? Which is often missing in OBC communities. आपने कहावत सुनी होगी कि काला अक्षर भैंस बराबर. Meaning what? That the written word doesn't mean a thing to the cow herding communities. In a sense, are you with me? Simply they don't have that legacy, generational legacy of. In OBC families, the importance of education is not sufficiently emphasized, is not sufficiently realized the way it is in upper caste families. तो मैं गरीब ब्राह्मण जरूर हो सकता हूं, पर मैं अपने बच्चे को शुरू से बोलता रहूंगा कि नलायक पढ़ पढ़ पढ़. मैं गरीब ब्राह्मण हो सकता हूं, बट मैं पॉसिबली खुद एजुकेटेड होऊंगा. So if you are OBC or lower caste and you are a first generation learner, it's a very difficult situation. If you have educated parents or uneducated parents, makes a world of a difference in your educational attainment. कौन से स्कूल में डालना है, क्या अच्छे स्कूल के पैरामीटर्स होते हैं, lot of such things which is very obvious to those communities which have been associated with knowledge. Are you with me? Those communities which have not been traditionally associated with knowledge, they are at a complete loss when it comes to such basic questions. समझ रहे हैं आप? So this merit is, it's a myth, what we call the merit myth. So if I have scored 90% in exams, it's not my doing. It is because of the accumulated, inherited advantages or privileges that I am able to score whatever I am in these competitive exams. तो ये केवल मेरी मेहनत का नतीजा या रंग नहीं है. इसमें मेरी पारिवारिक कम्युनिटी की लेगेसी का नतीजा है। कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंगली द लोअर कास्ट हैव accumulated disadvantage. सिंपली ओबीसी के 75 और ब्राह्मण के 90 एक बराबर या ओबीसी बेटर. And very frankly, at least in the civil services exam, the gap is simply not that much. जो कट ऑफ वगैरह का गैप्स होते हैं थोड़ा लोअर होता है ओबीसीज और जनरल कैटेगरी की बात करूं तो, बट नॉट सो. दिस इज अ वेरी स्टार्क एग्जांपल. तो जैसे प्रीलिम्स वगैरह में 2-4 नंबर का फर्क होगा कट ऑफ में. सॉरी 1.5 मार्क्स. In one of the Rajasthan exams, she is suggesting the OBC cutoff was higher than the general category. What a nuksan of reservation. ठीक है, so one is that. Secondly, आपने इक्वालिटी की बात करी थी कि reservation militates against the constitutional promise of equality. Please appreciate friends, equality क्या होती है? और जो हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है उसमें इक्वालिटी का क्या मतलब है? द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टॉक्स अबाउट इक्वालिटी ऑफ 2 टाइप्स. नहीं, कोई आउटकम नहीं. इक्वालिटी बिफोर लॉ एंड इक्वल प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ लॉज. Let me give you a very crude example to, draw the contrast. If I conduct a race today between a 4-year-old boy and a 20-year-old man, it's a 300-meter race. I draw a starting line here, I draw a finish line there, I tell both of them stand on the starting line, 1, 2, 3, go. Right? Is this a race based on the principle of equality? Is it a race of equals or no? क्यों मैंने दोनों को सेम पॉइंट से शुरू किया, सेम पॉइंट तक पहुंचना है, सेम क्लियर रास्ता दिया, सेम सब कुछ है, तो ये तो इक्वालिटी हुई ना, या नहीं? क्लियरली नॉट. Who will win this race? It's a foregone conclusion. Who will win? The 20-year-old man will win. So if we have to make this race more equal, what will we have to do? If you want this to be a fair, just race where both have equal chance of winning, what will we need to do? So either you give a head start to the boy, the young boy, or you draw the finishing line closer for the young boy. Then it will be this thing. Simply, friends, if we treat unequals equally, what is the outcome? If we treat people who are at the start equally, what is the outcome? Inequality will be perpetuated. So if we have to ensure equality between people who are unequal, what do? We have to treat them unequally. Are you with me? Like in this example of the race. This is precisely these are the starting lines of the Mandal Commission report. Please note down. As the Mandal report states, and I quote, there is equality only among equals. Full stop. To equate unequals to equate unequals is to perpetuate inequality. Is to perpetuate inequality. So साफ बात है, the OBCs, the SCs and STs have been historically disadvantaged. So if they are to be given an equal chance today, some sort of an affirmative action or preferential treatment is only fair. Are you with me? Equal protection of laws bhi kya hai? It also presupposes that those who are differently placed will be treated differently. आपने बोला, मुझसे बुलवाया आपने झूठ, कि दी रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी कीप्स कास्ट अलाइव. है ना, कि रिजर्वेशन ना होती तो कास्ट शायद मर जाती विद मॉडर्नाइजेशन, बट थैंक्स टू रिजर्वेशन पीपल रिमेन और डेवलप कास्ट कॉन्शियसनेस. दे रिमेन कास्ट कॉन्शियस. प्लीज अप्रिशिएट फ्रेंड्स, इट्स द अदर वे अराउंड. कास्ट इज अ सोशल रियलिटी. Reservation or no reservation, caste is a social reality. The reservation policy only takes cognizance of this social reality. Caste देश में reservation की वजह से नहीं है. Simply. मैरिज में reservation है क्या? किसी कानून या पॉलिसी के तहत? That till date 95% marriages are within one's caste. Yes or no? Why does a pandit marry a panditayin only? Or a baniya marry a baniyain only? It is because we are caste conscious. And any public policy has to be mindful of the social reality. You can't shut your eyes to the reality of caste as policy makers. Are you with me? Otherwise it will be like that, chota bachcha, young innocent child who shuts his eyes and then says ki dhundo mujhe. So it assumes that if I can't see you, you can't also see me. As policy makers, we have to factor in the social reality, which includes, in Indian context, caste. No crosstalk. So as long as there is prevalence of caste in society, there is a case for a caste-based reservation policy. I said जब तक कास्ट रहेगी तब तक कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन होने का एक मायना है. आपने मुझसे बुलवाया कि कास्ट बेस्ड रिजर्वेशन से इनएफिशिएंसी हो जाती है इन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, और फॉलोड बाय फियर मॉन्गरिंग कि क्या ओपन हार्ट सर्जरी करवा लोगे एंड ऑल दैट क्रैप. प्लीज अप्रिशिएट, अ डिटेल्ड स्टडी वाज कंडक्टेड बाय अश्विनी. यू नो अश्विनी? नॉट गुप्ता वुप्ता. Ashwini Deshpande, very good. Ashwini Deshpande. Very long drawn study based on data from 1980 to 2002. She studied the impact of reservation for scheduled castes. Admittedly not for OBCs, but scheduled castes, but we can draw similar conclusions. Impact of reservation for scheduled castes on efficiency in the Indian railways. In the Indian railways. Mind you friends, long time period ka data, and Indian Railways is the largest employer in the world which has an affirmative action policy. Okay? And what she found, that reservation did not, I'm coming straight to the conclusion, did not result in less efficiency in any department. It did not result in a decline in efficiency or low efficiency in any department. And not just that, one step ahead, that due to reservation, there was an increase in efficiency. There was an increase in efficiency, not inefficiency, increase in the efficiency. कहीं गलत समझ लो, ठीक है? In some areas. No decline in efficiency तो logically समझ आता है. But how do you make sense of increase? Are we saying that the reserved are more efficient and more capable than the deserved? How do you make sense of this increase in the efficiency of some areas? Brother? So, how does it improve the organizational efficiency? So if say they were presumably disadvantaged, Bitya. Absolutely. Because there is continuous pressure on candidates from the reserve category to prove their capability. So they work harder. साफ बात है, amongst us जो general category candidates होंगे, एक बार exam clear हो गया, that's your answer to the world. We are all trying to tell the world to shut up and let us live our lives by clearing such exams. So that's your final this thing, कि भैया I've proved my mettle. Yes or no? That I'm capable, I'm good, I'm hardworking and everything. तो उसके बाद आप जाके सोने की कुर्सी पे बैठ जाओगे, या कुर्सी पे बैठ जाओगे और सोना बटोरोगे ताकि सोने की कुर्सी पे बैठ सको. But those who come through or availing reservation benefits, there is throughout a question mark on their capability. So they are trying to continuously prove themselves worthy by putting in greater effort. ठीक है? So organizational efficiency decline नहीं होती है, शायद या तो सेम रहेगी या improve भी कर सकती है. Also appreciate friends, ये जो है ना कि सर्जरी करा लोगे क्या या डॉक्टर्स के पास चले जाओगे क्या थ्रू रिजर्वेशन, द आंसर टू दैट इज अ ब्लंट yes. For example, in Tamil Nadu, it has a decades-old reservation policy, including in the field of medicine, medical education, and it has some very good quality medical infrastructure, hospitals, and colleges. अन्नामलाई यूनिवर्सिटी वगैरह बड़े रेप्यूटेड है. एंड कोई नहीं सोचता कि भैया ये डॉक्टर जो है ये रिजर्व कैटेगरी से आया तो नहीं जाना. ठीक है ना? तो ये सब ढकोसलेबाजी मत फिलवाओ मुझसे. Another आर्ग्यूमेंट विच वॉज मेड वॉज कि भैया रिजर्वेशन जो है इट बेनिफिट्स ओनली द बेटर ऑफ कास्ट अमंग्स द ओबीसीज, है ना. This criticism is well taken, it is acknowledged. Yes, that is clearly happening. And it is precisely to address this that the Modi government established the Rohini Commission, which has, submitted a report recently in 2023 regarding sub-categorization of the OBCs. Okay, so yes, that should help in ensuring that the benefits, if and when that report is implemented, that will ensure that the benefit of reservation, other castes are also able to, other OBC castes are also able to benefit from the reservation policy. ठीक. Rohini Commission has submitted its report regarding sub-categorization of OBCs. Sub-categorization. It was established by the Modi government, this commission. Sub-categorization मतलब वही आइडेंटिफाई करो कौन से बेटर ऑफ ओबीसी कम्युनिटी कास्ट हैं, कौन से लेस हैं, कौन से ऐसे करके ना डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज में. और फिर जो अभी 27% सब ओबीसीज के लिए है उसको डिवाइड कर दो कि जो बेटर ऑफ ओबीसी कास्ट हैं जिनकी इतनी स्ट्रेंथ है उनके लिए एक्स परसेंटेज सीट्स, दूसरी कैटेगरी के लिए वाई परसेंटेज, ऐसे करके. ठीक है. सो दैट इज अ वेलकम डेवलपमेंट. एक और क्रिटिसिज्म था कि भैया वी डोंट नो कितने ओबीसीज हैं. कोई कहता है 52%, कोई 42%, कोई 36% है. वेरियस एस्टिमेट्स आर देयर. अगेन दैट्स अ legitimate point, very legitimate point. In fact, it is typically the OBC based political parties and leaders who have been continuously demanding a caste based census. It is OBC based parties and leaders who have conducted a caste based census in Bihar. So there is clearly a need for updated data for which caste based census should be conducted. और ये ओबीसीज ही मांग रहे हैं. Acha, I'll just comment a bit on the Rohini Commission. Okay, the report has not been made public, but there have been some leaks. So what we know from newspaper reports, what this report has identified, पहली बात तो there are more than 2500 odd OBC castes in the central list. Huh? More than 1/3 of all OBC castes, I'm quoting from Rohini leaked info, more than 1/3 of all OBC castes have zero representation. कितना? Zero. So 800 से ज्यादा 900,000 जो भी होंगे फिगर्स, कास्ट का एक व्यक्ति नहीं है. 97% in presumably administration. Okay, I'm not too sure, so I'm keeping that open. Secondly, 97% of the reservation benefits are cornered by a quarter of all OBC castes. Yeah, 1/4 of all OBC castes. ठीक है? So yes, there is a need for sub-categorization so that the benefits are more evenly distributed amongst the OBCs. That is a legitimate बात. दूसरी बात हमने कह दी, हमें कास्ट सेंसस भी चाहिए एज ओबीसीज. तीसरी बात या व्हाटएवर नंबर की, आपने एक बोला था क्या कि भैया हिस्टोरिकल रॉन्ग्स को रेक्टिफाई करने के लिए व्हाई शुड द करंट जनरेशन बी पीनलाइज्ड. प्लीज अप्रिशिएट फ्रेंड्स, इट्स नॉट जस्ट हिस्टोरिकल रॉन्ग्स. ओके, सतीश वेरी गुड. देशपांडे has highlighted that OBCs continue to suffer from caste-based discrimination in contemporary society. Bluntly, friends, we are not talking about discrimination being faced 100, 200, 500 years back. Even today, OBCs are grossly underrepresented in the educational sphere, in the administration. For example, in Indian Railways, in Group A and Group B services, only 8% employees are OBC. 8%. 8%. Indian Railways, Group A, Group B services, only 8%. As per UGC data from 40 central universities, 40, only 14%, 14% assistant professors were OBC. And there were 0 OBC professors. 0. In the lower judiciary, only 12%, 12 judges are OBC. नहीं UGC का क्या जुडिशरी से? 0% या 0 number of professors in these 40 central universities. जो UGC ने डेटा कलेक्ट किया था, उसमें 0 OBC प्रोफेसर्स थे. हाँ, असिस्टेंट 14% थे, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर्स. फिर क्या कह रहे हैं? लोअर जुडिशरी में ओनली 12% ऑफ द जजेस ओबीसी. We can go on and on and on. 62%, 62% of the students dropping out of IIMs, 62% students dropping out of IIMs were SC, ST and OBC. ठीक, तो पॉइंट इज फ्रेंड्स, जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है वो सिर्फ हिस्टोरिकल नहीं है, कंटेम्पररी है. नेक्स्टली फ्रेंड्स, आपने मुझसे बुलवाया कि मंडल अर्ड इन इक्वेटिंग कास्ट विद क्लास. साउंड्स लॉजिकली वेरी कोहेरेंट. भैया वो चाहते तो कास्ट ही लिख लेते, बट उन्होंने क्लास लिखा, विच इज डिफरेंट. But please appreciate, friends, nobody, neither Mandal nor the Supreme Court judgment which, approved Mandal-based reservation, nor any proponents of reservation for OBCs equate caste with class. They don't say caste is same as class. No, that is nobody's argument. What Mandal did and Supreme Court approved was that certain castes were identified as socially and educationally backward classes. Certain castes were identified as socially and educationally backward classes. I'll explain what is the difference. ये जो socially and educationally backward class, ये जो phrase है, this is from the constitutional provisions. So constitutional provisions hai, they say that the President of India, meaning the central government, can establish a commission to look into the conditions of the socially and educationally backward classes and make recommendations accordingly. इसके तहत कालेलकर बाद में मंडल establish की गई. Now, certain castes have been identified as socially and educationally backward classes. Okay? Meaning what? Mandal devised or identified 11 parameters to identify the social and educational backwardness, social, economic and educational backwardness of different castes. 11 parameters identify किए गए, जिसमें से there were 4 social criteria, मतलब 4 criteria of social backwardness, 3 criteria of educational backwardness, and 4 criteria of economic backwardness. क्या वो criteria है? I'll share in the Telegram channel. But you know, these were comparative. Simply, one challenge Mandal faced was that Indian society on the whole is very backward, or was back then. How do you identify the backward classes from this population which is mostly backward? So it devised a comparative criteria. For example, hypothetical बना के बोल रहा हूं, but इस type के थे कि something like the dropout rate, if in a community, is 75% higher than the state average. समझ रहे हैं आप? या literacy rate is फलाना lower than the state average. या those owning pakka houses, the percentage owning pakka houses or whatever criteria, या land ownership is इतने percentage lower than the state average. ऐसे करके, point is it was not a completely arbitrary exercise. There was some method to this madness. फिर इन factors को weights assign किए गए. फिर एक composite score बनाया गया. And those castes which scored, beyond a certain threshold, were identified as backward. Socially and educationally and economically backward. And this challenge was also put forth during the Indira Sahni case in the Supreme Court, that वहां पे क्लास लिखा है, यहां पे कास्ट आइडेंटिफाई कर दिया. Supreme Court put its stamp of approval, saying that in the Indian context, certain castes and communities can be rightly identified as socially and educationally backward classes. Ambedkar defined caste as enclosed class. Enclosed class. Ambedkar defined caste as an enclosed class. ठीक है? Another important criticism was that, even OBCs hardly benefit. कि 20-30 हजार जॉब से क्या होगा जब हम 65-70 करोड़ लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं. प्लीज अप्रिशिएट फ्रेंड्स. पहली बात तो, व्हाट इज द पर्पस और इंटेंट ऑफ द रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी? The purpose of the reservation policy is not job creation or employment generation. ये नहीं है. उसके लिए we have other programs like Manrega. That is also a noble objective of state. But reservation is not a tool for generating or ensuring employment. It's not a livelihood generation scheme. The purpose of reservation policy is what? It is social justice. Social justice. The purport, the stated purpose of reservation policies, reservation or other affirmative action policies is social justice. Arthat, those communities which have been historically disadvantaged. And because of cumulative disadvantage, their representation in the politico-administrative system, in education, is less. To improve their level of participation or representation. Are you with me? That is the purpose. कि जिन लोगों को अभी तक वंचित रखा गया है अपॉर्चुनिटीज से, जिसकी वजह से वो स्ट्रक्चर्स ऑफ पावर, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, एजुकेशन में नहीं दिखते हैं, उनका इंक्रीजिंग पार्टिसिपेशन हो. What we call social justice. And this the reservation policy does achieve if implemented sincerely. And when it does so, please appreciate, it's not just those few individuals who benefit, those who become civil servants, for example. They inspire and encourage scores of others of the community. They become beacons of hope for numerous others from those sections of the society. It gives the hitherto marginalized communities a sense of participation in the system. Are you with me? So, जब डीएम की कुर्सी पे हमें हमारी जात बिरादरी का लड़का दिखता है, तो क्या लगता है? ये सरकार हमारी है. एक एलियन रूल नहीं लगता. एसएस जोधका, he says that reservation on the whole has had whole with or without W? With W, very good. Reservation on the whole has had a positive impact. Has had a positive impact on Indian society. Full stop. It has developed a stake for the marginalized in the prevailing economic, political, and educational system. ठीक? So it ensures a greater sense of well-being, participation. And on that issue ना कि caste और class को equate करने का, Supreme Court has time and again reiterated that socially and educationally backward classes are not just castes. For example, in the Nalsa judgment, if I recollect, the Supreme Court suggested that transgenders should be considered as socially and educationally backward classes. So, socially and educationally backward class is a broader term. Some castes, just like some sexualities, can be identified as, or some sexual minorities can be identified as socially and educationally backward class. NCBC, National Commission for Backward Classes, they recommended in one of their reports that orphans should be considered as a socially and educationally backward class. ठीक है? तो ये नहीं है कि केवल कोई भी कास्ट को क्लास से इक्वेट कर रहा है, बट सम कास्ट कैन बी आइडेंटिफाइड राइटली एज सोशली एंड एजुकेशनली बैकवर्ड क्लास. ठीक. So I hope, friends, I don't hope that I would have changed your thinking, okay? That I would have changed your stance on the issue of caste-based reservations, because we tend to be very ideal, very rigid when it comes to that. But I do hope that we have developed a more nuanced understanding of the complexities of this issue. With that, we are done for the day. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.